Dangerfield.
All right there, so this is the second in my series of not gonzo film reviews. The first film I reviewed was the Danish film The Hunt, so if you haven't seen that, check that out. I'll leave a link in the description. Today I'm going to review a movie made in 1983 called Possibly in Michigan, directed by a woman called Cecilia Condit. So I suppose the first thing I should do is watch the movie. See you in a bit.
I bite at the hand that feeds me, slap at the face that eats me. Some kind of animal cannibal. Animal cannibal.
So having spent 7 years at art school, I've seen a lot of this kind of thing. The first thing that's quite peculiar is this was made in 1983, so it's graphics, it's aesthetic, the quality of what I imagine is some kind of high 8 or video 8 or maybe even VHS. But as someone in 2020, that poses quite a problem, because since the development of smartphones and just technology we can get on our laptops, people can make modern things appear to have been made in the 80s. You know, there's a kind of end of history, postmodern vibe about that. When I look back at photographs and movies of me when I was a child, they are in the 70s. The picture quality, the grain of it, the colours, the way it was processed, the shape of it, everything. It's in the 70s, but because now you can put those filters on things, and people do, you know, Instagram, whatever. I used to have an app on my phone that you just make your photos look old, or make them look even sepia, like, you know, sort of pre-colour photographs, or black and white, whatever. And so when children of the 2020s look back at their photos, some of them are going to look like they were from the 70s. Some of them are going to look like they were from the 1930s. They will have lost a clear aesthetic of their era, which is a damage to aesthetic history. So this movie is very much of an art school, art house film, shall we say. I mean, it's got a running time of 11 minutes 45 seconds. But already, the storyline, there's a woman who likes violent sex, and she likes to make the men think that it was their idea. Turns out her best friend also likes that, but they both like perfume. And there's a weird man stalking them who's sort of got a mask on that makes him look like he's going like this all the time. It reminds me a little bit of... Do you want to do the hand thing? Do you want to do the hand thing? I mean, I can't remember its name. Shia... I will remember. Hang on. Shia St. John. You know, the hand thing? Shia St. John was a character in a series of videos made by an alcoholic who eventually died, and he'd created this character who was once a sort of a Hollywood Beverly Hills type celebrity, but she was in a car crash and was made up of prosthetics and very peculiar, a very peculiar artificial appearance, and it's very much like that. The first actual dialogue is actually sung; it's all pitched, and it's much like a parody of communication. It's presenting itself. It's presenting two women talking to each other about perfume, and they're actually singing. And I think it's like it's meant to be some kind of revelation about femininity, when actually it's just a bit tacky and obvious. Maybe it wasn't in 1983.
This one here smells great. Which one? Smells like Mother's crazy sister Kate.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah, I do.
It smells so good. She couldn't have been that crazy. I don't think so.
Oh, you don't think so, huh?
No.
Well, she put her poodle one time in a microwave oven.
This movie is fucking shit. They've just broken into song, and it's very reminiscent of Laurie Anderson's Oh Superman.
Oh, Superman. Oh, John.
Which every feminist under the sun would have had a copy of in their record collection of similar female experimental vocalists of the time. Apparently this geezer's now stalking her. There's more singing, deliberately crap. They're using like a Casio keyboard. Is that deliberately crap in the 1980s, or was it the modern technology of the time? Well, both, because we used to play on the Casio keyboards in Dixon's in the shopping centre in Dartford, and we knew they were crap. And there's not much effort gone into this. It's deliberately effortless. There's a few cutaways of unrelated images. There's a few cutaways of standard advertising sort of images of females of the era, but you know, it's tame, really. There's not much there really to get your teeth into. It's trying to be experimental, and because of that, it looks and sounds like an experimental 1983 art movie, which isn't experimental. It's the same as all the others. A shame, because it looked good for the first 30 seconds.
Oh, 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 here it is. There's my favorite perfume we've been looking for everywhere.
I sat through so much of this jank at art school, and you'd have to all sit there and look at each other's projects when they were finished, and it's all very obvious sort of themes and images. They're already using cutaways. She's already using cutaways that she's used before. They meant nothing the first time, so to repeat them is just lazy, essentially. There's I think it's actually a musical, because there's been no actual dialogue so far that hasn't been out of song. You know, it's all sung. References to cannibals eating humans. Someone ate someone's dog. There's a gun. The man with the face is still apparently, I'm guessing, stalking her. But thankfully, this is 11 minutes 45. You know, this is one of the problems I've got with artists, is they don't think about their audience. They're so obsessed with themselves that they expect people to watch this. But there's nothing there for me. There's nothing for me to think about. There's nothing for me to consider. I'm just looking at something. A good film, a good piece of art will cause you to actively engage in finding meaning between what you know about the world, your experiences, and what's going on, what's being presented to you. And between the two, you construct some kind of meaning. And it's just not doing that. I'm being forced to just consume nonsense. And that's insulting to me, because I've got better things to do.
How do I meet the strangest men? They always seem to find me. Remember that time way back when I kissed a guy who ate his women friends?
Oh Lord! So there's this kind of voiceover. The stalker had worn so many masks he'd forgotten who he was. Really? It's now become a modern take on Red Riding Hood and images of death juxtaposed to modern images of feminine beauty. And I'd rather read the original child story of Little Red Riding Hood because it's better. Because it's better.
Bye bye. Bye bye.
Really uninteresting, unsophisticated, dare I say unartistic attempts to consider male-female sexual relationships and the potential boundaries of them and what may occur on that delicate edge. Ooh, love's complicated, sex is complicated. Whatever next? And you know, you'd be forgiven. She'd be forgiven if this was her first year art project, but I don't know much about this director. I'm guessing it isn't. I'm guessing this is her work. I'm guessing this is her work that probably gets funded from some kind of arts council, tax money, potentially, and it has no function. This offers nothing to the world. This is like the neurotic, hysteric scribblings of an anorexic teenage girl who needs to grow up quickly, made into film. So it would appear the man who in the credits here is referred to as Prince Charming has been killed and put out with the rubbish. And the two women protagonists are smoking cigarettes and watching the bin men take the bags away. I give Possibly in Michigan nothing out of a million. And I want the artist stroke filmmaker to consider the social and artistic function of such utter drivel before she makes anything else.
There's a strange-looking man at my door. What's he look like, Sharon? Is he that one I won't be seeing anymore? Well, he's not your run-of-the-mill animal.
And wouldn't you have it, funded by grants from the National Endowment for the Arts and the Ohio Arts Council. Copyright 1983, Cecilia Condit. Because it wouldn't have got made without free money.
It's the size of a wolf and a mouth as large as...
Don't let artists get away with this. Artists should be held to the same standards as an architect, for instance. An architect needs to build a house, be able to design a house that people can build. Hold them to the same standards as an astronaut, an expert in something, someone who's studied someone who knows what their work is about and what it does and why it has value and why it should be given money and time. Because people tend to let artists get away with stuff, and they should be held to exceptionally high standards. Not because I don't like them, but because I really like art. It's really important. Without artists, our visual, musical, our aesthetic history will be dominated by marketing. It's such an essential part of our culture, and yet, on the whole, they're shit. and it's a tragedy.